Have you ever noticed what that special swagger is that some of your guy friends have when they can just walk into a room and all the female attention is directed at them? That, all the eyes start drifting their way. Or have you ever wondered why it just seems like no matter what some of your guy friends do, if they talk aggressive or if they talk sweet or if they use the cheesy come on lines that everyone tells you not to use, how it just seems to work for them? Well, there's a magic trick almost, or there's a magic formula that they've figured out, and that's what we're going to talk about today in this episode. Most of you guys are coming in here just a little too overinvested, and I know that sounds counterintuitive, or you're trying to apply yourself as a guy that's a good guy, as a guy that cares, but when you come into this expecting an outcome or too needy, you push her right out of her life. It feels repelling. So welcome back to another episode of 4x4 Recall, the show for entrepreneurs and business professionals, where I show you how to create more dates, fun, and meaning in your life. I'm your host, Chad Tabery. Let's jump into it. So we're going to talk about what I call the IDF framework. We'll go into that in the very end about why it's just that magic pill, that magic sauce. But leading up to that, just think about this. There was an old movie from John Travolta called Be Cool. And just think about that as the general overarching theme. What I want you to do when you're going into these situations is to remember that you're already always perfect exactly as you are. That's kind of it's a spiritual tenet that I stole from a guy named Bentino Macero, I think, if you want to look him up. Shout out to Bentino creeping up into the dating material. But you're already always perfect exactly as you are. And that's something that you have to kind of remember. If you're a little bit overweight, I'm a little bit overweight right now. If you don't have the arms that you want, if you don't have the career title that you want already, if you haven't closed as much business as you expected to close already, if you think that you should have farther along in your life, you don't have to bring that baggage with you. You don't have to make up for anything, so to speak. You are already a valuable man. You are already a man worth dating. So when you relax into that, into this understanding that you can attract women and that women do love going on dates with you, then all this stuff kind of unfolds around you and it impacts every bit of your life. So that's something we'll hint at in the rest of this episode too. It'll impact your promotions on the corporate side. It'll impact how you negotiate deals on the business side. It'll impact the clients you close on the sales side. So there's a few points in here. And then at the very end of this, we'll talk about how so many men have been able to essentially land these girls without even thinking about it. One of those examples that always cracked me up is I call my brother a natural 8. So I've explained before to the audience that I consider myself a solid 7.2. Nobody remembers me in a room and they're like, oh my man, he was like the hottest guy I've ever seen. But then also I've been blessed with a nice smile. I've been blessed with a decent height, other attributes that women find very attractive. So solid 7.2. But because I can come in with that charisma, I can elevate myself to an 8 or 9. Well, my brother is like a natural 8, where he walks in the room. And I remember being in an elevator once with him even, and a girl like sighed when he walked in the elevator. And I'll never forget, like, what does that feel like to have somebody to walk into an elevator and then some young, attractive girl just goes, ah. So one day we were at another brother's bachelor party, and there was a boat around us, nearby us, and they had these really attractive girls in bikinis. And I remember my brother was just hanging out on those large flat floats that you pull behind party barges, just kind of chilling backwards. And when everyone else wanted the attention of that boat, he just sort of looked over and finally caught one girl's eyes, and he started making like this symbol, like he wanted to hit her vape, essentially, which also hideous opening line or whatever. So the girl waves him over, like come on over. All right, so what would every other guy do in that situation? And this is sort of a key tenet in this episode. Every other guy would like hop off that float and get over there as fast as he can and come in, crawl up on the boat, do like some bathing suit model scene where like the water's shimmering off his hair and like shake her hand and introduce himself. My name's brother. I do this or that. But no, man, this dude casually rolls off this thing and he does a backstroke in the middle of the river running through Austin with boats all around. It's like in a circular pattern, stopped in Kansas, finally makes his way to the boat, and again, doesn't even climb up, just sits there for a little bit and leans back. How do you even lean back in water? Like that, it blew my mind. I watched him in this because I had been talking about dating for a while at this point, so now I could put frameworks on it. I watched what he was doing And he wasn't trying to be cool, but every bit about him projected this non-neediness, right? This be cool atmosphere. He found a way. He was so non-needy. He found a way to lean back in water. And she ate it up. She loved it. The guys finally were cool with it. He gets up there and he shares whatever vape is going. That's it. So I remember leaving that situation thinking to myself, man, that really strikes me because he's not trying to do this, but he's a natural at it. So there's 5 points we're going to talk about here that will help you be that natural. So point number 1, don't be too focused on when women get back to you. Impatience and neediness are creepy behaviors. And this happens in sales, this happens in business, this happens in dating. If you seem like you need this from this woman, she's not going to like you. Deep down in her core, she's going to know this man's unstable, this man's unsafe. He needs something from me. So what he's saying is not honest. It lacks strength, courage, and authenticity. Some examples of that are when you overinvest in the text messages, and this is probably where it manifests the most when guys are first getting into this. If she sees 6 messages from you, or if she sees super long paragraphs in your messages, she knows. She looks at her phone and it's just like this feeling. She doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Do you know what I mean? Look down at some of your messages that have gone wrong, and I guarantee if you analyze it with no emotion invested in it, like give yourself 30 days coming down on that, you'll look at that and you'll say, oh man, not only did I double text, I triple text, or I feel like I have to explain too much in every single paragraph, or I'm trying too hard to make her laugh or emotionally invested in this. So she can read all of this. Remember, women have had thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years to build their creepiness detector, to build their neediness detector, and it will push her right out of your life. You also have to remember going into this that it takes several days for that creepiness factor to settle down. So another problem men have is they'll overinvest, they'll hit these messages, and then they're like, oh my God, what happened? They're freaking out. So they try to do more of what's repelling her to get her back when that's just pushing her away farther. It's not going to bring her closer to you. So you have to find yourself in these situations and be real honest about it. If I was overeager, if I overinvested, I need to take a step way back. And that could be 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. I've been in situations where it was weeks, but you need to understand that this is like it's an emotional taste. You know, sometimes even if everyone said all the right words, think about a good sales pitch. Everyone said all the right words, but you just left it and you're like, I don't know why, but I just have this weird emotional feel on it. Well, women pick up on that, man. So when you're doing all this creepy, needy stuff, it pushes her away and it leaves a lingering, bitter aftertaste. And you have to settle down on that. If you're doing everything right, you'll notice that she'll start messaging you more and more. And that's really what you're trying to set up here. You want to get yourself in a situation where she's chasing you, or at least where she feels so comfortable and so interested in the mystery that you've created in the space that you've built and provided that she's reaching out to you. Stupid little WYDs. What are you doing? How are you? Hey, what's going on? Like that's your invitation. That's your understanding to know that now she's in your frame, that you've established safety and confidence, that she wants to be a part of your life, that she's probing you for more information about you. So build that awareness of how interested in me is she? Is she reaching out? Is she being super enthusiastic in my replies? And when you start to feel that wane, that's your job from the perspective of emotional intelligence, and that's your job from the perspective of situational awareness to back down and give her the space to reinvigorate that tension, to reinvigorate that interest. Does that make sense? So point number 2, when you're overreaching, and you have to be honest with yourself, when you're overreaching, it communicates insecurity and self-doubt. I remember this is a horrible story, embarrassing story. I share it all the time though, because a long time ago when I was young, I was 20 maybe. I was in the Coast Guard. We were hanging out with Coast Guard friends. And one guy was dating a really attractive girl. She had a smoking hot younger sister. Well, I remember for whatever reason, I was able to just casually say, hey, do you want to go out Thursday? Which is the right way to ask a girl out. And I just sort of stumbled upon it. She said yes. But I remember I kept calling her. Back then we had real landlines. I kept calling her over and over. Hey, we still going to go out on Thursday? Her mom started answering. Her mom literally said she's washing her hair. I don't know if you guys remember old shows, but that used to be the joke. Like, oh, she can't come to the phone right now. She's washing her hair. And on the day of the date, I just called. It had to be like 7 or 8 times. Well, that communicated insecurity. It communicated self-doubt. It communicated the truth of it. which was that I believed that she was too hot for me, which is that I believed that she was out of my league. And so when you do that to a woman, you force her to almost accept that. Another thing on the sales side, a guy had me, I lead revenue operations teams on the corporate world, and they want to sell me really expensive software, like $45,000 to $100,000. Well, a guy had me. He hooked me on the demo, and I agreed to the date, right? Do you see the correlation there? Well, he called me the day before, which is kind of a rookie mistake. And he was like, hey, I just want to make sure we're still on it. So you might say that's respecting your time, but really that was him projecting neediness. That was him telling me that he didn't think he could close the sale. And in that moment, I felt it. I was just like, hey, my calendar filled up. I'm so sorry. Let's do this another time. And I ghosted him, really. I mean, that's the truth. So you don't want to be impressing on this woman that you're not good enough for her. You have to remember again that you are always already perfect just the way that you are. And she accepted the date. So she has an amount of interest, right? So now it's on you to just not blow it. Now it's on you to not sit there and write her dissertations about your breakfast in the text messages and to send her crazy follow-up messages and to creepy stalk her on social media leading up to the date. You just need to settle down into who you are. Another important thing that I experience more as Gen Z kind of really starts to hit the workforce more, the dating market more, we're in this sort of like anxiety culture where we wonder what's happening if someone doesn't respond within 10 minutes. You need to understand, particularly in dating, if you want to stand out in dating, women take their time to get back to you, and they often understand that by taking their time, it creates some anxiety on their side. You have to be comfortable in these downtimes. You have to understand that this thing is going to cycle the way it's going to cycle no matter what, and you have to be willing to let that happen. You have to be willing to hold space, is what they call it. And by holding space, that doesn't mean that you just chase shiny things. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that you bend to the left or bend to the right or bend to the left whenever she throws you some sort of stimulus or impulse, or you want to get a feeler out there to make sure that you're still safe, that you still have this girl's attention. So find a way to not chase in those little fluxes. That's literally integrity. Find a way to stand firm in who you are as a man. Find a way to really rest in that strength, courage, and authenticity so that you can show up and do what you said you were going to do, which is meet this girl Thursday at 7 and not have to chase around if she decides she doesn't want to text you back. There's nothing wrong with quiet. There's nothing wrong with downtime and communication. In fact, that builds a tension that makes the date more interesting. If you're not patient on this, you're going to chase her right out of your life. And a lot of men come back to me and say, oh, well, I don't like to play games. And I always, it's a silly rebuttal. But right now, if you don't like to play games and feel like you're natural and you communicate whatever you want, then go find the girl you're interested in and text her 17 times. Like, just tell me how that goes. Come back to me and tell me how that goes. You played a game right there. You played a stupid game and you got stupid prizes. The final thing on this is her situation is actually out of your hands. Your job is to polarize. Your job is to be authentic and tell her what you think. Your job is to ask her out on these dates and create a space that you guys can meet up, have fun, and escalate. But your job is not to try to figure out whether her dad's being mean to her, or her ex-boyfriend's back in the picture, or her dog died. That's not, in the words of the most amazing Mrs. Byron Katie, that is none of your business. None of that stuff is what you need to be worried about. You need to be focused on you. You need to be focused on creating a better version of yourself in your life. And then you need to be focused on doing what you said you're going to do with this woman. Does that make sense? Point number 3. Women don't communicate the same as men. And you really need to understand this. Women will talk about their feelings. Women will try not to hurt your feelings. Also, this is important. You'll find times when she said yes and she just didn't want to hurt your feelings. That's okay. You got to get through that. You got to continue on and see if you can get to the date, but understand that you can't build these covert contracts where you're trying to get this girl that you're interested to logically say something so you can pin her down to it. Just now, before this episode, my wife left the room. I was setting up the set. She said, "You're an asshole," and shut the door. Okay, because in that moment, she's mad at me. In that moment, she feels like I'm an asshole. Does that mean that I think that the mother of my 2 kids is done with me and thinks I'm an asshole? No, because I understand that women communicate differently. They're telling you in the moment what they feel. And at the same time, they're interpreting the feelings that they get from you. So when you start blowing your load on text messages, or when you start chasing her down too hard on those text messages. When she feels that neediness, she will just back off. She'll say nothing. She will ghost you. She'll disappear. It's not personal. That's the key point here. It's not personal. You just have to understand that we don't speak the same language. We don't communicate the same way. She's going to tap into her feelings and she's going to start behaving in accordance with the way that feels. So you can't get butthurt. A lot of times men come back to me, they're like, oh, they're liars, they're manipulators. They say one thing and do another. Well, really, they're always doing what they feel. And if you pay attention, they're almost always saying what they feel too. So you can garner a lot about what she's feeling by listening to what she says. And then you can determine a lot about the way she actually thinks by what she does. So the key point here is don't take that personally. Listen to what she's doing. You owe it to her and yourself to be the good communicator, but don't expect that her word is a verbal contract. Does that make sense? It's not advantageous for women to be straightforward. Think about, I know this is hard to do, put yourself in the shoes of a hot woman, and she's walking around New York City, and she gets cat calls and whistles. That one's obvious. All right, most men won't approach her and ask her out, but enough do. And it doesn't feel good to anyone to be mean. Like, have you ever been in a traffic light, there's someone that's begging that comes by. It doesn't feel good to know that you don't want to give money, to know that you've done this 4 times already, to know that this person's hurting. None of that feels good. So, 1, they're trying to avoid hurting someone, but 2, the few men that actually do work up the muster to ask her out, a lot of them are just kind of arrogant about it. And so what happens is when they say no thank you, they get 2 reactions. 1, they get this persistence that they think is somehow attractive. And if that's you, reach out to me because that's horrible. Or 2, they get this aggression. Oh, what, are you not good enough for me? What do you think you are? You don't stink also? So just keep that in mind. It's not to their advantage to be direct, unlike a man where you really need to find a way to be direct so that you're not in some act of physical altercation later. Like men need to lean on words first, whereas women, it's just never been in their favor for the thousands or 100,000s of years of evolving to like be direct in their speech. Unless you're in a, look, there's exceptions to all this. Unless you're in a corporate world, whatever, you don't need to go tit for tat on that. But my point is, how does it serve them best to hurt your feelings or offend men or to be rude about it? It just doesn't. It doesn't help anyone. Okay, point number 4, the IDF method. I want everyone to ingrain this in their head. 3 words. It doesn't freaking matter. And when I'm live in-person coaching guys, I'm using the profane version of that. I have gone out with guys to help them on the dating side and literally just sat there on the curb for a minute. What's going to happen if she says no? It doesn't freaking matter. What's going to happen if she doesn't like you? It doesn't freaking matter. What's going to happen if you try to get 3 numbers and you only get 2? It doesn't freaking matter, because at the end of the day, I want you to really rest in this. I want you to really feel this. At the end of the day, it does not freaking matter what this person thinks of you. It does not matter what's going on in her head that makes her not want to go out with you. It does not matter that she just turned down the best offer of her life. It does not matter to you, because you're creating options in your life, because you're a man of high value, because you're a man of action, because you're focused on building your grind, because you're focused on getting out there and growing the wealth and health and protection of whatever you're interested around you, building this environment that other people want to be a part of. So it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, this what we call rejection. We're very scared of rejection because of our historical experience with it. When you get kicked out of the tribe or kicked out of the city, it could have meant death. But today, you can get Uber Eats. Today, you can get a cab. Today, you can go to a hotel, the next restaurant, you can go get another job. Like, you're not dying when you get rejected. So the one superpower that you can really lean on this, that I want you to take away from this, is it doesn't matter. You need to go out there with non-neediness, with no coercion, with no expectation of the result, but then understand at the end of it, how this shakes out doesn't matter, because you're still going to do what you do. Does that make sense? This is a big one. I literally get yourself a bracelet that says IDF. And then number 5, if you're struggling with this, the real answer to it is options. The real answer to this is abundance. If you really listen back to everything that was said, when you talk about communicating with non-neediness, not over-investing in text messages, realizing that it doesn't matter if she rejects you. Well, it doesn't matter if she rejects you because you got 4 other girls in your cell phone right now. How does that feel? Sit in that for a moment. What if you're on Monday, you're in a coffee shop, you see an attractive girl, but you already have a date set on Thursday with whoever your sure thing is. And maybe there's a potential date on Friday or Saturday with someone you've already met. Well, when you ask this girl on Monday, hey, I think you're really cute. Do you want to hang out sometime? What's your number? It doesn't matter what she says. It doesn't matter if she says, oh my God, that's so flattering, but sorry, I have a boyfriend. It doesn't matter. Then you can really come back and say with a charming smile, oh man, what a bummer. Look, have a great day. It was nice seeing you. It was nice meeting you. That's it. That's real unconditional love. And as a man, that is what you owe the world. Unconditional love. You are pouring your gift out to the world so the world can have it. You are pouring your gift out to the world for the sake of creating it and giving it as a man, for fulfilling your purpose as creator and fulfiller. Hang with me now, because really think on that. All this other stuff when you're trying to take from, pull energy from, feel better about, I'm a big man because I got a hot girl. It's meaningless. It's worthless. It fades away. It makes you feel ridiculous at night. I've been there. I've been on every side of this spectrum. But when you find that place where you are creating value as a man for the pure sake of giving it, for the unconditional love of giving it, for the accomplishment of giving it, you have found the secret to life. And then everything, business is easier, sales is easier, dating is amazing, and you will have a blast with super hot women, with whoever you want to hang out with, because you know it doesn't freaking matter. And because you know it doesn't freaking matter, you're going to ask all these girls out. And then just because of the rule of numbers, a good portion of them are going to say yes, and then you're going to get on dates with them. And before you know it, your calendar's overflowing. And before you know it, you don't know how to manage the 4 girls that you're seeing at the same time. And then you have this one coming to you with the, hey, where's this going conversation? And you're deciding what you really think about that. And you're having honest conversations about it with strength, courage, and authenticity, because you have options and the outcome doesn't freaking matter. If you like this episode, I want you to hit like and subscribe. Find me on whatever platform you're viewing from. Send me a message. Let's talk. Let's get out there. I'll see you in the next one.